Today, we are working on your painted rocks for the rock garden. In your kit, you will find a piece of folded paper, a paper towel, a paper plate, a paintbrush, 2 rocks, and an assorted set of paint pots. First, you're going to want to take out your folded piece of paper and open it on your desk. This is to protect your desk and keep your work area clean. Next, you will take out your supplies and place them around your work area. Your rocks should already have your name and year on the bottom of your rock. Place the side that has been written on face down. The paper plate is to be used as a paint palette for you to mix colors. You are ready to begin painting your rocks. Here are some tips with painting with acrylic paints. The first tip is to never dunk a paintbrush loaded with paint into the water cup. You will want to rub the extra paint off onto the paper towel before you clean it in the water. This will keep your water cleaner and help it to last longer. When you paint directly on a rock, the darker color of the rock will show through. As you can see here, I have painted the center blue line with the blue paint directly from the pot. It is very dark and not very blue. There are a few ways to change this. One is to mix some white paint with your blue paint and then paint them on the rock to give you a lighter blue color. The white paint makes the color opaque so that the color of the rock does not come through. The other way to get true colors on your dark rock is to first paint a light coating of white on your rock and then to let that layer dry. Once it is dry, you can paint any color over it. I have also shown this technique with the red paint as well. Here is an example of 2 finished rocks. One was painted directly on the rock, and the other rock had a thin coating of white paint first, set to dry, and then painted on top of. Both are beautiful. There are 2 main ways to make layers on your rocks: a wet-on-wet layer or a dry layer. When you are painting wet-on-wet layers, the layers will mix into each other as shown here. If you overmix with too many colors, you will get gray. Therefore, you might want to try to keep wet-on-wet layers to only 2 colors plus black or white. In order to paint something with clear lines, you should paint dry layers. You should wait for the bottom layer to dry before painting on top of it. This is easier to do if you use less paint to keep the paint thinner and to have it dry faster. Keep in mind that it is always easier to paint dark colors on top of light colors. But you could always use your white to cover up any layers or mistakes that you have made once the paint is dry. An easy way to wait for the paint to dry is to paint a layer on one of your rocks and then switch to the other rock for a minute or 2 and keep going back and forth between your rocks. Blowing or fanning on the rocks helps too. Let's also look at the brush we have. You have a small flat brush. With this brush, you can do many different things. A basic stroke with this flat brush is the wide flat stroke, where you load your brush and use the wider edge in a pulling motion. Another stroke is a straight line stroke. This can be done by loading your brush with paint and then gently brushing sideways. The more pressure you use, the thicker the line will be. The less pressure you use, the smaller the line will be. Using the corner of your brush will make dots, or you can turn your paintbrush over and dot with the handle. One last thing to keep in mind, acrylic paint does not wash out, so please be careful with your clothes and surroundings.